Net neutrality, an issue that has recently become prevalent in the previous decade, is about the Internet. Since its creation, the Internet has been a war zone between the Internet Service Providers, or ISPs, and the consumers. Before we continue, what is net neutrality? Well, net neutrality is the idea that all data should be treated equally. In other words, whether you're the average Joe or a company like Netflix, an ISP cannot discriminate against your use of the Internet.
The beliefs of net neutrality stem from an argument involving the Telecommunications Act of 1996. What the Telecommunications Act of 1996 essentially did was allow any company to enter the telecommunications market and compete in any market. This act was enacted to deregulate the converging telecommunication and broadcasting markets. The argument around this law was whether the telecommunication market should be regulated or not. One might wonder, why should this market be regulated now if this act did a fine job with leaving it deregulated? Well, people began to view the internet less like television, a general service, and more like electricity, a utility. Some people believed that the internet was a fundamental necessity in our daily lives and that the internet should be regulated. Other people believe that the internet is a lot like television in that it was simply a service that did not need to be regulated and different amounts of content can be paid for at different prices. Essentially, these two sides became the base of the beliefs of the two sides of net neutrality.
Net neutrality became an official term coined by law professor Tim Wu in a law review article in 2003. The first official issue that gave rise to net neutrality was a debacle in March 2005 involving a North Carolinian-based ISP named Madison River Communications. Madison River Communications prevented its customers from using VoIP, or Voice over IP, which are things like Skype, because it competed with Madison River Communications' own phone calling services. The Federal Communications Commission, or FCC, fined Madison River Communications for this action. In 2007, Comcast began discriminating internet traffic by blocking BitTorrent, which is a peer-to-peer connection-based system. Initially, Comcast denied that they were blocking internet traffic, but instead only delaying it. The interest group Public Knowledge filed a complaint asking the FCC to investigate the matter. After the investigation was conducted, the FCC demanded that Comcast need to stop discriminating against BitTorrent and its internet traffic.
Comcast was not the only offender of violating net neutrality. In 2012, AT&T decided to block FaceTime on its mobile networks for customers unless they would buy a mobile share plan. This angered AT&T's customers, and as a result, several interest groups organized complaints of AT&T's actions to the FCC. Eventually, AT&T submitted to the interest groups and unblocked FaceTime. On September 15, 2014, popular websites that supported net neutrality decided to collaborate on the idea of an Internet Slowdown Day. These websites would use the Wheel of Death to show what the Internet would be like if net neutrality did not exist, and they would also provide a link to a public petition directed at the FCC to show their support of an open Internet. This campaign was very successful, and it informed the people of what the whole issue was all about, and gained supporters for net neutrality. Finally, Obama has recently expressed his support of net neutrality, as seen in this ad.
Hi everybody. Ever since the internet was created, it's been organized around basic principles of openness, fairness, and freedom. There are no gatekeepers deciding which sites you get to access. There are no toll roads on the information superhighway. This set of principles, the idea of net neutrality, has unleashed the power of the internet and given innovators the chance to thrive. Abandoning these principles would threaten to end the internet as we know it. That's why I'm laying out a plan to keep the internet free and open. And that's why I'm urging the Federal Communications Commission to do everything they can to protect net neutrality for everyone. They should make it clear that whether you use a computer, phone, or tablet, internet providers have a legal obligation not to block or limit your access to a website. Cable companies can't decide which online stores you can shop at or which streaming services you can use, and they can't let any company pay for priority over its competitors. To put these protections in place, I'm asking the FCC to reclassify internet service under Title II of a law known as the Telecommunications Act. In plain English, I'm asking them to recognize that for most Americans, the internet has become an essential part of everyday communication and everyday life. The FCC is an independent agency, and ultimately this decision is theirs alone. But the public has already commented nearly 4 million times, asking the FCC to make sure that consumers, not the cable company, gets to decide which sites they use. Americans are making their voices heard and standing up for the principles that make the internet a powerful force for change. As long as I'm president, that's what I'll be fighting for too.
So, why do we want net neutrality anyway?
In addition to not being allowed to slow down internet speeds, ISPs cannot block what you do online. Net neutrality also allows new companies and websites to start up and obtain potential customers, since these companies would not have their data discriminated against by ISPs. Lastly, the worry is that if net neutrality goes away, ISPs would charge tolls for premium web speeds. There are two sides to every argument, and net neutrality is no exception. Some people believe net neutrality is a bad idea, and here's why.
ISPs are companies too, and they should try to receive as much profit from their business as possible. By throttling and blocking websites, they can offer these services unthrottled and unblocked for a fee for those who need it. Think pay-per-view or HD services on cable TV. With this, the ISPs would like to charge heavy users more money for using their service than light users who do not use the internet or who do not care about speeds. Kind of like how we pay for electricity nowadays. Even if you're not an ISP, you may have some core beliefs that go against net neutrality. For example, many people in the country believe in deregulation of private corporations and free market economics. These views coincide with the regulation of the internet under net neutrality. Another point people make is the old saying, if it ain't broke, then don't fix it. So far, people have been able to enjoy the internet, and there's no need to regulate the internet to make sure that it remains the same. So, let's look at some recent laws that have to do with net neutrality.
The Internet Freedom and Non-Discrimination Act of 2006 essentially prohibited ISPs from limiting services based on discrimination. An ISP that offers enhanced quality of service in one area must offer the enhanced quality to all areas without imposing any surcharge. Eventually, this one died in Congress, but it does a good job of explaining exactly what net neutrality was all about. Communications Opportunity, Promotion, and Enhancement Bill of 2006 prevented ISPs to charge more money in order to not reduce internet speeds. This bill also died in Congress. ISPs tended to secretly cap user data consumption if they felt as if they used too much. The Data Cap Integrity Act in 2012 made it illegal for companies to do this and is still in practice today. As many of the bills did not pass, interest groups today are trying their best to either continue to shut down these bills or gather support around these bills so they do pass.
There are many interest groups that have both positive and negative opinions on net neutrality. Here are a few of their wants. The Consumers Union opts for net neutrality. They want an internet where consumers can access the online content of their choice at affordable prices without the interference from ISPs. They want strong net neutrality rules that protect consumers from harmful discriminatory practices by ISPs. The Consumers Union has specifically mounted an aggressive campaign in opposition to Comcast's bid to acquire Time Warner Cable. This would give Comcast control of nearly 40% of the nation's broadband service. Another group that supports net neutrality is the Internet Activist Campaign. They, along with many other interest groups, used the word of mouth, phone calls, and letters to Congress and the FCC to get their point across. Here is an actual letter that many interest groups wrote to the chairman of the FCC.
This letter had some strong words sent to the FCC's chairman. Since its creation, the internet was intended to be a medium controlled by users, not by network access providers. Since 2005, the future of an open internet has been unclear. We urge you to continue with the process you have set out. We are also encouraged by the administration's statement this weekend about the importance of an open internet. We believe this will best serve the public. So far, 1.6 million Americans have spoken. They do not want the internet to become just another closed network where large media entities pick winners and losers, like broadcasting and cable. We are confident that even more Americans will rally to the cause in the months ahead. This letter was signed by a multitude of interest groups, all focused on obtaining net neutrality.
Another method used by a majority of interest groups was lobbying for net neutrality. Lobbying is the act of influencing government politicians on a decision. In our government, this is normally done through monetary influences. Lobbying is being done by both sides, in fact. The people that are anti-net neutrality include internet service providers, the Consumers for Cable Choice, and Hands Off the Internet. The Consumers for Cable Choice receive funding from telecom companies like Sprint and Verizon. They advocate for a system based on competitive choice in the marketplace. Hands Off the Internet is another group backed by telecom companies like AT&T. This group opposes federal regulation of the Internet, including any net neutrality legislation. They believe consumers should choose the method that is best for them, not the government. AT&T has funneled hundreds of thousands of dollars into this group, including many anti-net neutrality ads. The ads are fashioned to look and feel like genuine grassroots efforts, backed by broad popular support. Some of these ads become ridiculous, like when Verizon says that it wants to kill net neutrality to help blind, deaf, and disabled people.
We are currently in the middle of the intense battle between the ISPs and the freedom fighters of the internet, and we don't know what the outcome will be. Perhaps net neutrality will be abolished, and we will pay for our internet like we do our electricity. Or perhaps some of these open internet laws are passed, and the internet will continue to be free and not discriminated against. If the ISPs eventually win this battle, they will surely be the winners. The losers include the users of the internet, who will have to pay more money for the websites they visit and will likely see a decrease in download speeds. Many internet websites would lose revenue if they were discriminated against, and it would make it harder for companies to start up because they would be excluded from these internet highways. They want all of this, and that's why they are currently doing so much to convince Congress to abolish net neutrality.
If the internet remains open with net neutrality, then things would likely remain the way they are now. ISPs will be forced to stop throttling and discriminating against any website, and net neutrality will become a cornerstone of internet usage. The internet will be considered as a utility like electricity and water. The losers would be the ISPs, who cannot monetize on every aspect of the internet. Overall, the internet is an important utility in the world of today. Years ago, when some of these laws were created, the internet was just a small convenience. But now, many people cannot live without it. Imagine trying to live your life without electricity in a modern world. In a way, the internet is becoming something like that. Many people have their jobs online. We research, communicate, work, and have fun using the internet.
If net neutrality laws are upheld, the internet will continue to be a positive force in America. In South Korea, the government has prioritized internet advancement. Now they have an average speed that is hundreds of times faster than that of the US. If the internet is an important utility, we need to do our best to keep it up to date and to keep it free. Some believe they can make money off the internet, and others just don't want the government interference in private industry. So it's likely that there will be much opposition either way if these laws pass or not. Net neutrality has been an ongoing debate for nearly 20 years, and it looks like the issue may be settled soon.